welcome to episode number 13 of DFO Rundown Insider Edition. Irfaan Gaffar here in Vancouver. That is David Pagnotta in LA. David, dinner was great. It was fun to see you and our good friend Dennis Bernstein. But let's continue that conversation about Los Angeles and where you are and the LA Kings and the latest that's happening there. It's not always sunny in Los Angeles as it may seem with the weather when it comes to their hockey team in the Los Angeles Kings right now.
Yeah, no, not really. And a lot of frustration among the fan base for just where this team is at right now. Look, a nice win yesterday against the New York Rangers. They actually have points in each of their last 4 games. They're 1-0-3 in their last 4. So they're still sticking in that. They're right in the thick of things with respect to the wild card race. And if things go a little bit differently in their games against Anaheim, if they actually close them out, which they've had some problem doing lately, they're actually, you throw them up to third. So they're right in the Pacific. So they're right in that mix. But one of their biggest issues all season has been lack of goal scoring, even primary goal scoring. Now, they're a little banged up right now. There's no Anze Kopitar. I spoke with him after the game yesterday just to see where his timeline's at. He doesn't know. And the head coach, Jim Hiller, acknowledged that too during his press conference. They don't know where he's at yet with respect to a timeline, and it doesn't sound like it's anytime soon. So they're going to have to play without him for a little bit. But one of the things that they've been doing for a couple months is just scouring the market to see where's there another goal scorer that they can bring in. Be it somebody capable of playing on the top line or the second line, they want somebody that can do that. They've got the cap space, especially after moving Phil Deneau. They've got the cap space to do it. Trevor Moore's out of the lineup as well. He's battling an injury. So they're a little bit depleted on top of the fact that they've already had struggle scoring. So that's the priority for the LA Kings. I know fans are clamoring about a coaching change and this, that, and the other. It's just not happening. It's not happening this season. And, I look to what happened in Columbus where they made a coaching change. And, you start to hear things after the fact once the hammer drops. It sounded like, talking to some people around that team, that, Dean Evanson unfortunately just kind of lost the room. And that doesn't, and usually when that happens, you have to make some changes. And Columbus reacted in that way. I don't get the sense at all that that's happened in Los Angeles. Jim Hiller is going to be here unless this team loses like 8, 9, 10 in a row. They're focused on adding to this group. They're not focused on making a coaching change. And that's what they've got in LA. It's still up to Kenny Holland to find it. And we're 2 weeks away from the Olympic freeze. And then they've got 2 weeks after that, 12 days after the freeze lifts to the trade deadline. So there's a little bit of runway here, but that's a priority for LA. And I'd be surprised if they don't add something in terms of offense for this group between now and the deadline.
The guy that I wonder about, just because everyone wonders about Vancouver players right now, is Evander Kane in LA. I think that there could be a fit there. And then the one further down the road is something that we're going to be talking about for a long period of time is Elias Pettersson. And if the Canucks, in fact, are listening, if he's made it aware that he'd be open to a change of scenery, I just wonder about the LA connection for one Elias Pettersson. But anyways, that's an interesting conversation. Go ahead.
I'll dive into just a tiny bit, just with respect to Kane. I just mentioned offense. Like that, Evander Kane, Ken Holland likes bodies, right? Mm-hmm. So the whole connection to Kane isn't like, hopefully he just finds his offensive spark. It's more to just provide that extra physicality in the bottom 6 if they go in that direction. But he's making $5.25. So you're looking at him. If you want to add somebody up front, it's probably $5 million plus. I don't know financially if it makes sense. I think the priority again is to find offense and then go from there. But there was some back and forth with respect to Evander Kane. We'll see if that does develop closer to the deadline.
The Seattle Kraken, always an interesting team, are the Seattle Kraken, as you look at teams and identities and who they are and the type of game that they want to play. But the big one for them is Shane Wright and the future of his status in Seattle. And my question to you is there a future for Shane Wright in Seattle?
Good question. What I can tell you is the Seattle Kraken are open to moving Shane Wright. And I think with what they've been looking for previously, they've been looking for a top six, a legitimate top six offensive threat, ideally somebody capable of playing on the top line. And the sense that I'm getting is a willingness to move and package up Shane Wright in order to get that. Same time, I don't get the sense that Shane Wright is overly thrilled with his usage lately. I think his last game he played under 10 minutes. And he wants to have more responsibility. He wants to have more ice time. He has to earn that as well. I can't just be handed it to him.
Yep.
But there's a little bit of disappointment there with respect to his usage from his side of things, which is understandable. He wants to start taking next steps. But again, he's got to kind of earn that. At the same time, with Seattle looking to make a splash, and whether that's now or ahead of the deadline or something that they resume the search for in the summer. Remember, this is a team that kicked the tires on Jordan Kyrou around the draft last year in LA when the draft was here. That's the caliber of player that they're looking at. Whether they've circled back with Kyrou or not, that's the type of player that they're looking for. And the sense that I've gotten in talking to some other teams around the league, Shane Wright's name is starting to circulate. There is a willingness from Seattle to move him. They don't want to get rid of him by any stretch. This isn't that. But this is trying to find that fish that they can bring in, and you've got to give to get. And it sounds like Shane Wright could be part of that if they do go in that direction. But from all indications, talking to a few other teams, Shane Wright's name is out there. There's a willingness for Seattle to explore that, and we'll see how that develops.
Before we get to Bill Armstrong, I forgot to mention it off the top of the show. General manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong, is set to join us here in just a little bit. But let's touch on that Utah Mammoth theme. They're first in the wild card spot right now.
Yep.
An interesting direction. A lot of young talent on the roster currently. A lot of even younger talent not on the roster just yet. What do you like about the Mammoth right now?
I like their future. They've got some really good young, you just mentioned it, some good young talent on the way. Iginla being kind of at the top of that list, but they have Gunther right now. They've got obviously Clayton Keller. They've got Cooley, unfortunately banged up and injured, and he'll be out of stretch. But they've got a good nucleus of young talent, and then you have Sergachev and Dursey and some of the guys on that back end. They added Peterka, who fits that mold of moving forward with this group. This is a very well put together young nucleus with a lot in the cupboard that's coming up. And that's what I really like about this club. And the other thing, and we've talked about this all season, this is a team not afraid to take a big swing, like not afraid at all to go after if they find that opportunity. Like we always talk about, like Vegas took another big swing. They bring in Rasmus Anderson on Sunday. Carolina's not afraid to do that. They've shown that the last couple of years. There are Tampa before, not afraid to make big, bold moves. Utah's in that boat, but not to the rental level side of things unless something totally falls into their lap. But this is a team that if they can find that young piece that fits their mold, that is controllable or signed long-term, they're going to take a huge swing, and they're not afraid, as we've seen, to spend money. They've got the ownership to do it. So that's what I like about them, is the aggressiveness, at least in terms of an exploratory side of it. Bill Armstrong's fully engaged, and we're going to talk to him about this. But also, just where this team is at, they've got a pretty bright future ahead of them. And given everything this organization had to deal with before they got to Salt Lake City, you feel for those people still around that had to deal with all that. This is a nice change for them.
Pleased to be joined now by the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong. Bill, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk to you two guys, and hopefully we can bring some sunshine into your world today with the news of the Utah Mammoth, and hopefully we get a little more sunshine with a big win over Philly tonight.
Yeah, big game for you. We were just talking about this before. It seems like every game now is a massive game for the Utah Mammoth. First in that wild card spot right now. What do you like about where your team's at and the way that they're currently playing?
Well, I love the fact we're not too high, too low right now. We're just in a pattern of just kind of, going at it. And when we win games, it's like you couldn't tell if we lost in that dressing room. There's just a good steadiness. And I think when you're a young team and you're learning to win, sometimes after the big wins, you're reading your press clippings and you're way too high. And the next time you come back to the next game and you get smoked, you're just not ready to play. And I think our group has done a good job of, even after a tough loss, you come back to the rink and get back to work. It's a business attitude, and I like when we're on the road this year, we're going on business trips, and that's what it's about. So there's a good mixture in our locker room right now, and I love the fact that our young guys are consistent.
Well, Bill, touch on some of the young guys and the impact that, Gunther and obviously Clayton Keller, Logan Cooley's out, but young guys that you have on this roster that have been leading the way. What have you seen from them in terms of the maturity level that they've brought this season, as you guys are, battling for positioning?
Yeah, one of the things you love when you have really good players in your organization that are when I say they're hockey kids, they're addicted to hockey. They're
Yeah.
You sit with them at the end and you say, listen, at the end of the season, you're like, hey, you scored from here, but you need to score from everywhere, and you need to put on 10 pounds, and you need to come back bigger, stronger, faster, with a better thought process of the things you need to do in the summer to improve. And they walk back in the door, and you're like, wow, he looks big. Right? And you look at him on the ice, and and they're driven to get better. And we have a lot of young kids like that. So when we come back after the summer, we put Dirk on the same line as Cooley and Gunther, and you're like, wow, like they're all they all put on 5 to 10 pounds, and they're all faster, and they're all ready to go and rip apart the NHL. So I love our young guys. I love our mentality. They come every single day to get to the rink and get better. So the Gunthers of the world, they're not only good in that area, but he wants the puck in the big moments, and he's been huge for scoring game-winning goals or making a play on a game-winning goal. He's had a huge year so far, and he keeps driving our team.
Your practice facility blows me, and I think a lot of the rest of the National Hockey League completely out of the water. And it kind of leads to my question in a sense where you have an owner that's very invested, isn't afraid to spend, not afraid to step up for the athletes, the staff, and the city as well. What's that like been dealing with him and your relationship on a day-to-day?
It's really good. He's a high-end guy, but it's also him and his wife. Ryan and Ashley are kind of a team together, and they're tremendous. But what's more impressive is the assembly of the SEG corporation behind the scenes when they do construction, the way that they plan stuff, their designers, everything that they do, and how fast that they move, and just the goodness of the people. Utah, the one thing about Utah is you love is just the people. Extremely friendly, positive, and they've just been great since we've come through the door. And they created this practice facility. It's every day I come to work, and the one thing people don't tell you is hopefully you guys get a chance to visit it, is when you walk out the front door or you walk out the back door, some of the best views in Utah of the mountains. It's absolutely incredible. I go get my Starbucks across the street and I see that mountain view. I just smile every day. It's amazing. And we kind of laugh around here a little bit, because of what we've been through, coming out of, our previous, team in Arizona and coming here. We always laugh and say, we kind of deserve it. So we deserve the beautiful facility with the barbershop and the shooting rooms and all the other fancy toys that we have. But it's been a really good thing. And our players come to the rink every day. And like when you're a top 10 team in the National Hockey League and you're going on 6-game win streaks, like every 2 weeks, it's fine. Your environment's great. We're win, lose. Sometimes coming to this facility and being in the battle to try and get in the wild card, it creates a great environment. And also our coaches have done a good job with that too. But it certainly brightens your day being around here and having the best of the best.
But I remember a player media tour in Vegas. I think Clayton Keller checked out the facility the day before he rolled into town and was just totally blown away by it. And now obviously everyone's acclimated to it. And previous, your past before moving to Utah, certainly night and day, and long overdue that you guys have this. There's also been talk and locally and with respect to the arena. Obviously, you guys are going through some renovations and going to change things up. How are all those plans coming along and the expansion with respect to the building and obviously the sight lines and everything? How's that process going?
Well, they're in phase. They finished phase one, and that was the most impressive one, where you notice where they've basically contoured, that lower bowl around the rink, which they didn't have before. They didn't have because the rink was made for basketball. So they came in. They made some things. I mean, it's the day that we finished our last game. They're chipping out the ice, and the jackhammers were going. They were working 23 hours a day all summer long to pull it off, and it looks like a hockey rink now. You walk in there, you're like, wow, that's incredible. The next phases are to shave down each end and create a little bit more steepness and some more boxes. And once they do that, it'll be state of the art. It'll be one of the top arenas in the National Hockey League. So they've done an incredible job. If you come to our games, I always love it when my friends or family come to games and they're like, wow, that's an incredible experience in hockey. And our group here, I think we had an advantage that they owned an NBA team, and the people that do the in-game presentation, take the great stuff from the NBA and bring it over and help us. And they travel a lot. Those guys are on the road with us trying to learn different things from different NHL teams. And you come to our game, there's never a dull moment. The music's pumping, people are up dancing. It's a loud building. And if we can bring playoffs into this city, into this building, into this state, you wait. It's going to be crazy.
Leads me to my next question, a little bit in a way, and playoffs and improving the roster. And when we do these interviews with general managers, you talk about wanting to improve your roster each and every day. But when you're in the position that you're in, as we turn the calendar year now well into 2026, what does improving the roster of the Utah Mammoth look like for you?
Well, the first thing I have to tell you is when we try and improve the roster, it's not messing up the future. And that's the first thing about it. And if you look, and I don't want to use this as an insult, but I don't think there's been a Canadian team that's won a Stanley Cup in 30 years.
Yep.
I think it's
longer than that.
A lot more, probably in Montreal. And so my point is that there's so much pressure in those markets that they're going for it every year, and the media is on them about, hey, what are you going to add? What are you going to do? We want to add. Every morning we wake up, we think about how to improve our team. But as long as it doesn't crush us in the future, then that's fine. But if you look at a lot of our deals that we've done to improve our team, the Sergachevs and the Peterkas and the Schmitz, they're all summertime moves. And when I was with St. Louis and we went down the stretch to win a Stanley Cup, I think we added Michael Delzato, and that was it. We didn't make any catastrophic moves. Your team is built. Your core is built. During the summer, during the years together. It's not hey, we're going to make this incredible trade. Yes, that happens once at a time, but for the most part, we're building long term. We're interested in long term success for the Mammoth, and that requires development and patience and bringing your guys along. And like we've done with Cooley, like we've done with the Gunthers of the world, we've had a slow process, and it's painful at times because it takes some time, but it pays off in the end because you get homegrown talent that fights a little bit harder for you.
Yeah, certainly. I think there are some teams recognizing that right now in other parts of the league that are starting that process at this point. In addition to that, looking towards the future a little bit, you've got some pending unrestricted free agents on the roster. Nick Schmaltz being at the top of the list. He's having a great season. Where are things at there? Have you had, I don't know, not going to tell us everything, but what can you tell us with respect to him and his contractual status?
Well, first of all, his Nick and his agent Kurt Overhart have handled it unbelievable. Nick's a pro. He comes to the rink every day trying to get better. I just said, hey, listen, let's worry about getting the team into the playoffs, and we'll deal with the other stuff, when it comes time. And he's been great about that. And he's really been focused on trying to get this team into the playoffs. And he's had to go from wing to center, and he's done an amazing job because Cooley was hurt. So, but one thing we try and do is quiet the noise a little bit, focus in on what we have right now. and go at it. And Nick's been really, really good at that. So we haven't really got into that as much. I think our team is also growing as we speak. The kids from the minors are coming up. We have a unique situation where we have 5 first rounders that are good players that sit outside our organization. And that's not a normal thing in the National Hockey League. We might be one of the only teams that have that. So those kids are constantly improving, the Simashevs of the world, the Lamoureux, the Baudouins, and the Deonays of the world. They can keep getting better. So they're making pushes to make our team, and we can't bring every kid in at the same time. And I left out again one of our best prospects that we have, and those kids are pushing to make our team. So you have to create a little bit of room at time for somebody to make the team too. So that's kind of the juggling act that we do, and looking ahead at what's coming the Mammoth's way. But it's a good thing. I can tell you that it's nice to have it's nice to have good talent coming through the door.
All right, Bill, we're going to leave you with this one. 2027 Winter Classic. And I know it's a little bit away. I know you've got other things to focus on, but what can fans expect, and what can we, the viewer, the television viewer, expect to see Utah show off?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, first of all, instead of having 18,000 Mammoth fans, you're going to have 50,000 screaming Mammoth fans against our rival that is a heck of a team down the street. We don't like them that much, but they're a heck of a team down the street, and it's going to produce, number one, a great rivalry that happens with Colorado. I think what they're going to show off is the beauty of Utah, and it's going to start from the opening scene where you turn on the game and you can see the mountains in the back of the stadium, and they are going to absolutely crush it here. One thing that SEG and Ryan Smith and Ashley Smith do extremely well is those big events, whether it's releasing our new logo and name from the moment they've bought the team to anything that they do is first class, and they're going to absolutely crush that event. It's going to be a huge thing for our state, for our town, and to show off our organization. And we can't wait for that day. It's going to be an amazing day. Hopefully the weather is absolutely perfect with some blue skies in the background, a little bit of cold, and we put on a good show and beat the Avalanche on that day. It'd be great.
All right, Bill, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate you taking the time. Good luck the rest of the way. Hopefully next time we're talking about this, we're talking about the Utah Mammoth, a playoff hockey team, and we'll see the excitement continue to grow there in Utah.
That'd be great, gentlemen. I'd love to do that. So we'll see you on that day. All right, we'll book that day in.
Perfect.
Right, we'll be there.
All right.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, guys.
Dave, it's always a pleasure getting to talk to general managers around the National Hockey League and hear what they think about their team. What stood out to you the most in our conversation with Bill Armstrong? Thank you, Bill, for doing that, by the way.
Yeah. The excitement, right? Like the excitement that he and the energy that he's bringing with respect to just talking about his team. Like, he's excited about this team. I mean, and good, you should be. It's your team. But with the young guys that they've got and the cupboard that they've got and everything, the excitement levels that are there, calls out Colorado for the Winter Classic. He's giving fist pumps and everything, all jacked up and excited. I like that. You want to see that because the excitement that's on the ice and the excitement that Bill's brought, I mean, it's the same in that market. I remember being there for the first game that they played last season, and that place is like, there's a strong energy. Like, they are an interesting, outgoing fan base. And I could only imagine now, and if this team makes the playoffs, or if we got to get out there, because I can only imagine how much it's been elevated so much. I want to see that in person. But, the excitement that he brings and just the honesty that he talked about, like with respect to Nick Schmaltz, he's having a hell of a season. I know they explored the possibility of moving him last offseason. They held on to him, and just the openness of him saying, look, we want to focus on the playoffs. We'll get to the contract stuff later. His camp knows it. We know it. We'll figure that out when the time comes. But, as I mentioned before he came on, this is a team that if they can make a big splash, they'll do it. Yeah. And it's exciting times for a market like that.
Yeah, Ryan and Ashley Smith, are incredible owners. They have been so far for the Utah Mammoth, and obviously big congratulations to them to be hosting the 2027 Winter Classic out in Utah as well. The Minnesota Wild are a very good hockey team, and I think that their GM Bill Guerin knows that, obviously taking the swing and getting Quinn Hughes, but beyond that, they're still looking to add more, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Before Quinn Hughes, they were looking at bringing in somebody in their top 6. They've got some cap flexibility still, but this is going to be an interesting team between now and the trade deadline because Bill Guerin wants to keep this going. They're pushing. They're in second place. They're pushing for home ice. A lot of runway left, another 30 some odd games, but they're right in there. And if they can bring in somebody now, it sounds like the top 6 has shifted to center. And they're a little banged up. Eriksson X out, and I think there's hope from Team Sweden that he'll be okay for Olympics. But this is a team that I could see them going in that direction. Now, I wrote about this and reported it after the New York Rangers put out their second letter since 2018 or whatever it was. Whatever. But Vinny Trocheck is a guy on their radar, and I don't think they've had extensive trade discussions yet with the New York Rangers, but he's definitely on their radar. And another player on their radar as well is Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Now, 2 different type of players, different trajectories. But I think Bill is just trying to create options here to see what's available to him. I think Trocheck is definitely somebody he's going to have a meaningful conversation with the New York Rangers about. Kotkaniemi's on their radar. And I think he's looking, and the theme here being center, he's looking around to see what options are available to him. Is Ryan O'Reilly a possibility? Is, Braden Shen, is St. Louis willing to do that in division? A possibility as well. It looks like Minnesota wants to really make another impact addition, obviously not to the level of Hughes. I don't think they have the assets for that, but that's kind of where they're at. Now, with respect to the cap, the guy they really like there is Ryan Hart. He's got some no trade protection, but he's got a hefty cap hit for where he's at. His name is out there. It's been circulating throughout. I think we might have touched on this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But if they have to move money around, don't be surprised if he's the guy that unfortunately for him would have to fall on that sword. But they're looking, they're combing, and I fully expect them to make another move between now and the deadline.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what they do. I mean, that Central Division with the Wild, the Colorado Avalanche, you look at just the Dallas Stars, the battles that are going to be in Utah, obviously, as well, that are going to be had in that first round of the playoffs are going to be absolutely phenomenal theater for us to watch. Not on the ice news per se, but some interesting business news when it comes to the National Hockey League. And we're going to the Vegas Golden Knights. And what's going on there, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, they're making splashes on the ice. They're looking to make some moves off it. From according to sources that I've talked to, the Vegas Golden Knights have put 10% of their franchise up for sale, and the asking price is $200 million. Now, there are teams, and we've seen this, like Tampa did this. They sold a chunk, and then it kind of migrated a little bit. That's not the case here, and this is Bill Foley's team. But from what I've been told to people who've had these conversations, 10% of the franchise up for grabs right now. The high valuation for them, $200 million, for that. But there are other clubs that are looking to do similar. I think Calgary is a team that's explored that. Dallas has explored that. There are other teams right now, given where the league is at and just the success of the league right now and the trajectory that we're on, the likelihood of expansion coming up down the road. Some teams are trying to take advantage of where things are at right now for a variety of reasons. But Vegas is one of them. We'll see kind of where that goes. But the latest news out of Las Vegas right now, the Knights have made 10% of that team up for grabs.
Wow, that is definitely some big news there. I can tell you Vancouver, not for sale here in Vancouver. I know the Aquilini Group, no, they just love owning that hockey team and, want to try and write this thing here in Vancouver and believe that, they're able to do so. But very interesting there in Vegas. All right, Dave, before we wrap this up, anything else you want to get off your chest?
Yeah, I mean, there's some teams that are looking to make, obviously moves, and we've talked about this. One team that I want to look at is Winnipeg. The Winnipeg Jets, obviously not the season they wanted, but we're starting to hear a little bit of different noise out of Winnipeg. In addition to looking for somebody for that second line, there's a couple things. One, this is another team where center might be a priority for them, but I think anything on that second line to provide secondary scoring is key. They're going to listen on Shen, as we've talked about. He wants a contender. They're going to listen on Logan Stanley. I think they've had a little bit of a discussion with respect to what he's looking for contractually on an extension. I don't think that's something that the Jets right now are willing to do. So there's a decent chance that he may get moved, ahead of the deadline. Because Stefan Nyquist is another pending UFA, but he hasn't scored yet. So we'll see what the value is there. But they're looking for that. And one name that's kind of popped up a little bit, Cole Perfetti, I think is somebody that they want to be part of the future with, but there might be a willingness to explore the possibility similar to Shane Wright in Seattle. Not to that level. I think Shane Wright, you can declare is available in that respect. Cole Perfetti, not so much to that level. But there might be a willingness to explore that if they can bring in somebody who's, again, controllable term, contract-wise, and fits the age bracket of mid-20s. I think they're looking at that. Now, they may also be looking to fill their cupboards a little bit going into the draft. That's another topic of discussion, for them, which is, helpful in terms of them moving out some of their some of their pending UFAs. But Winnipeg, another one. Interesting position. Keep an eye on them over the next several weeks here.
Roster freeze for the Olympics is February 4th. So we're about a couple of weeks away from that. I think things are going to start to get interesting here in the next couple of weeks as we do this. I think that we're going to have a trade to talk about next week by the time we do this show, David. That's my bold prediction for then. I got another bold prediction. You're going to be back in Toronto as we get to our Bet365 segment. Mitch Marner Palooza in Toronto. Let's go there for the Bet365 segment. Friday, January 23rd. Yes, the Vegas Golden Knights are in Toronto visiting the Toronto Maple Leafs. Give me a Mitch Marner point. Give me over 5.5 and give me an Austin Matthews anytime goal in that hockey game. I think it is going to be bonkers out there, David. I think it's going to be, I think there's going to be some tears shed, and I think there's going to be a lot of booing, but that's what I like there with Bet365. So whatever you bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. There's going to be tears, and then he's going to get booed, right?
Yeah, or vice versa. He's going to get booed and then tear up. It's going to be emotional for him.
Yeah,
it will be. I don't
know why there was such a big deal about him playing against the Leafs in Vegas. This is the one. This is the one that you circle and say,
this is the one.
This is the biggest one for him.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. I was there. I was in Vegas for that game.
Yeah.
It was stupid just to go for that. You're right. This is really the big one. But this is when they played Toronto last week, it was off a back-to-back. They were in LA the night before. Here, back-to-back again. They're playing Thursday. Forget where. Chicago, Montreal, somewhere. Boston. And then they come into Toronto. So it's a short window for him to actually have to address everything. But you're right. That's going to be an emotional one for him and I'm sure his family as well.
All right, Dave, you're the best. Thank you so much for this episode 13 of DFO Rundown Insider Edition. We will see you next week.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.